output appearance options. So you can set up how some of your pages appear. So first of all, index name. Enter the title for your index pages. This will appear at the top of the browser just like any page title. So your index pages, let's say, well, for this demonstration I'm creating a site about plasma televisions. So I could just say, it's always useful including keywords in the title of a page. So plasma television is of course good keywords. Let's say information and resources. Okay. So tags. Do you want to remove all bold tags from output? I would say no. I would say generally you want to leave the bold tags in, so I'll leave that unticked. And this appears generally in the results pages. So you can play around with this setting if you want and see what you prefer. Okay, results description. Let's move this over so we can see all that. I would say leave it at 0. Background color, I would definitely stick with white. Any other color with text can become quite unreadable. Homepage URL. You'll need to know your domain name for that, of course. And in this case, I'm doing I'm creating the site for the domain demo site1.info. So that's basically the homepage URL. That's fine. And sitemap name, sitemap.html is fine. So as you can see, step 3 is very straightforward for configuring output appearance options. And again, let's press next, and to move on to the next step. And actually I'm going to talk through this now. Let me bring this into focus. Step 4, configure sponsored link options. You can, if you wish, basically set up some ads that appear on your pages. So you can enter the title of your ads, description of your ads, and the URL, the web page it links to. I generally prefer to add my ads manually because it gives me more control. So generally I leave this blank. And let's move on. Next, step 5. Configure results files options. Of course, the results pages are very important. So let's go over this in detail. Structure. Use index name for file names. I would say leave it as unticked because generally you want your results pages to be called, to be named by the keywords. So what I'm saying here, if you have that ticked, you can end up with pages called index 1, index 2, index 3, and it's not very helpful to you. There's no benefit to the search engines, and it doesn't give your visitors much context. So if you have it unticked, if your page is created on the keyword plasma televisions, the page could be called plasmatelevisions.html, which is much more beneficial, so I would say leave that unticked. Okay. Next, keywords per page. This is a little bit confusing because it's saying here configure results files options. But this here, keywords per page, is actually talking about your index pages, not your results pages. So how many keywords do you want on your index pages? If let's say you've got 500 keywords in total and you choose 50 keywords per index page, and when I say index page, you can You could also think of it as a sitemap page, as you'll see, because I'll talk you through the whole structure in detail in a later video. What I generally go for is a larger number here. I generally have all my pages linked on a single page. So let me demonstrate this. Let's say 500. Okay. Results per page. For the results pages, I generally have this as 20, and I'll talk you through more detail later because it's somewhat difficult to explain just looking at Traffic Equalizer. I'll have to talk you through the options again while we look at the site we've created, so I'll cover this again later. So results page structure. Do you want multiple folders or multiple indexes? I generally go with multiple indexes. We can ignore subfolder name. Randomize results. Yes. Add per extension .html. Yes. Let's move this up a bit. Output file name. Output file name format. I generally go with a hyphen in between. Like that. Okay, let's move this over here. Excluded domains. I generally don't bother with this. So let's leave that for now. And let's click next. Okay. Step 6, which I'll cover briefly now too. Step 6 is configure pop-up and data source options. On the left are the pop-up options. I generally don't bother with this. You can add a pop-up to your pages if you want, but I don't have pop-ups on my pages. And if I was to add pop-ups, I would do it myself rather than have it added automatically with Traffic Equalizer, because I prefer to have more control over setting adverts up, and a pop-up is basically an advert. So I would just leave that blank. Or you may want to play around with it and see what works for you. And you can choose the pop-up width and height as well, as you can see. And on the right, data source options, threads, 5 generally works fine. And data source is where Traffic Equalizer gets the information from to create the pages. And it doesn't give a huge amount of information where it comes from, but a lot of times it comes from the search engines from like Yahoo and Google and other ones. And for some reason data source 2 is red, so which means it's inaccessible. But what you may wish to do, you may wish to play around with different data sources to see which ones you prefer, or you can just randomize them. You don't have to use a backup. Let's do that again. You don't have to use a backup data source if you don't want to, or you can randomize them both, or however you choose. So let's click next. And step 7 is generate pages. And I'll go through this process in the next video.